Major support for Out to Lunch Acadiana is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys in offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Business First Bank, with locations throughout the state, including Lafayette and Lake Charles, providing personal and commercial banking, treasury management, and wealth solution services to help clients succeed. Business First Bank, banking with greater momentum at b1bank.com. Support also comes from Wyndham Garden Lafayette.
From Cafe Vermilionville in Lafayette, we're out to lunch with Professor of Finance and Director of the award-winning Berken Road Reports, Peter Raschuti. It's business, Acadiana style.
Hi, I'm Peter Raschuti. Welcome to Out to Lunch. When you own a business, you generally believe that nobody knows more about your business than you. But there are times in the lives of many businesses that growth or success complicates things. At these points, specialist consultants outside of your company can have greater insight than you about what you really need to achieve your goals. When your business comes into contact in any way with local, state, or federal government, working with specialist consultants becomes less of an option and more of a necessity. In Acadiana, one of the leading governmental affairs consultants is the Picard Group. The Picard Group has offices in Lafayette, in Baton Rouge, and Washington, D.C. The company's principal is Tyron Picard. Tyron, welcome to Out to Lunch.
Thank you for having me.
In discussions of business strategy, you often hear the advice that to grow, you have to stop working in your company and start working on your company. Part of that task is to come up with a strategy that presents your company to the world, otherwise known as marketing. When you start thinking about marketing, you've got a million questions to answer about how you want your company to look to clients and customers. You need to decide everything from the color of your logo to the attitude you want to present on social media. You can answer these questions yourself as they come up, or you can turn to expert consultants to craft an overall strategy for you. That's the specialist mission of a company called Healthy Image. Healthy Image is in Lake Charles, but their work is spread far and wide. Healthy Image's creative director is Barbara Van Kossen. Barbara, welcome to Out to Lunch.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Tyron, you worked for 12 years in corporate and governmental affairs with the Acadian Ambulance. We've had those folks on the show, nice people. And that's before you opened your own consultancy in 2011. In just a few short years, you've grown the Picard Group into one of the state's leading liaisons between public and private enterprise. I'd like to know how you've done it, but before that, I'd really like to know why. What is the connection between private enterprise and government that you find so attractive that you've really devoted your whole life to it?
Well, part of it was probably my genes that I couldn't outrun, with my father being in former superintendent of education, former state senator, former member of the House of Representatives. There's been this calling of being involved in government service in some way or another for our family for some period of time. For me, it was the ability to utilize the skill sets that I had gained through my education at Tulane Law School, political science degree, and working in a business that was highly regulated, and seeing that
you're cum laude at LSU, undergrad, right?
At Tulane.
At
Tulane Law School.
So, but undergrad,
yeah. Undergrad was at LSU. Yeah, that was, thank the Lord. Yeah.
I'm trying to get out. You are a smart dude. I'm trying to help you here.
So using those skills in understanding how a business needs them, particularly if they're in a highly regulated area, whether it be healthcare, whether it be oil and gas, energy, things like that, became something that I grew very passionate about, because I felt like we could make a difference in the quite often policy gets made by people who have never stepped out into the real world to understand how that policy is going to actually impact the people who it's going to regulate. And so understanding that we could do a better job of bringing real life examples and bringing impacts to policy makers before they sort of made the sausage was something that we endeavored to do.
Now, I got to ask you, you're growing up, I mean, is that the kind of discussion you had at the dinner table? Like the votes on Ways and Means and things like that?
Yeah, unfortunately, we still do. I've got two sons who are very active politically, volunteered. My 16-year-old has volunteered in probably a half dozen plus campaigns already. My 14-year-old, and so I guess other families talk about
Sports
NBA or NFL.
Right.
We'll talk about what Paul Ryan said today, or what Trump tweeted yesterday, so it still is very.
I never
much.
thought we'd be having a discussion about the president tweeting, but this is what we're actually doing.
Here we are.
Now, Barbara, when you do public relations and marketing in a place like New York or Los Angeles, you're starting with a clean slate. You have a large market who is basically pretty much unfamiliar with your client. But in a smaller environment like Lake Charles or Lafayette, if everybody doesn't actually know everybody else, they probably know about them. Is that an advantage in as much as people are already familiar with each other and predisposed to be more receptive to a message? Or is it a disadvantage in that it's harder to sell something as new and exciting when everyone knows that it's just their neighbor?
I don't know. That's kind of tricky because everybody, we are a small town, of course, so small, and everybody does kind of know each other. I think that's where we come in and we try to do things kind of differently if we can, but then trying to convince your clients to do things differently can be hard because it's very conservative, I guess.
I guess in a way that's kind of that you've got two different clients in that sense. You've got the person that's hired you, and then the customer on the other side.
Right.
What about you've done some really great things in social media, and I'm just wondering. I mean, younger people know it. You're probably not a hard sell. Some older folks.
It's a whole new game now, and we're having to kind of learn it on the fly, But it's a lot of research, a lot of just trying everything out, and it's not just at first you started out it was just Facebook. Okay, well now it's Instagram. Oh gosh, now it's Twitter, and now and that's just where it's all going, So it's learning how to do it and
convincing the client how important it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
but now we're actually finding that a lot of our clients are coming to us saying, "This is what we want. This is where we need to be. This is and it's been really interesting, but it's like hit the ground running, So
Well, how do you stay hip? You brought your 14-year-old son to the show. I guess that would probably help, wouldn't it?
he pretty much knows, I think they come out of the womb now knowing how to, do Instagram. But yeah, I mean, we have some younger ones with us, but I don't want to be a dinosaur,
Right,
so
right.
it's just really having to push it and learn it. And
I've got to ask you this because you're from Lake Charles and we don't often get guests over from there. That place appears to be an incredible boomtown.
Yes.
Well, what's going on? I mean, is it all LNG or is there more to it?
There is a lot of that going on. We have a lot of the plant and industries that are growing, and we have some of the what they call man camps and that coming in. A lot of new hotels, a lot of new patio homes and developments and that kind of stuff. So it's really exciting. Very exciting. I think last year we were kind of on hold with the election maybe and everything. So now the first of this year we're already starting off with a bang. So I think everybody now knows where we are. So feeling a little bit more comfortable.
Absolutely. In turn, I know you do business for a lot of kind of clients. We talked about oil and gas, but the area that interests me the most in terms of government interconnection is healthcare. What do you advise people?
I said when the Affordable Care Act passed some 6 years ago, it was the most dynamic change we had seen in healthcare since the 60s and the creation of Medicaid and Medicare. That took some 50 years, and now within 5 years, we're about to undergo another revolutionary change. I think what we're going to see is a decentralization of the federal government's role as it relates to Medicaid and Medicare. I think the trend seems to be moving towards more of an allocation type program to states to allow them to design their own programs, which is going to create opportunities in the marketplace for large managed care companies that have the infrastructure to be able to come in and manage these programs for the state, because you will not have the federal bureaucracy and the federal infrastructure to be able to run those types of programs. And so that in and of itself is going to be a change. Barbara was mentioning the boom in South Louisiana. Cheniere Energy was one of our first clients. They have come in and with this idea of investing $22 billion into essentially a marsh, the mouth of the Sabine River. And when you were first told about it 5 years ago and said, you're going to do what, where, and spend how much? And, back then the nearest place to get gasoline was 40 miles away on the Louisiana side. And so working through those issues, whether it was handling the environmental impacts, handling the workforce labor issue, the taxation issues, those sorts of challenges we've enjoyed. It's been a real labor of love for us to see that now they're actually providing LNG across the globe.
It's the biggest energy story in the country.
And I think you're going to see in this administration a real effort to use energy as a foreign policy tool with America's allies. I think the previous administration never sort of saw that opportunity, but I think with, and I don't know Rex Tillerson, but I would just think that they understand what we have as a nation now that we can use as a bargaining chip.
I would think having the CEO of Exxon as your
Yeah,
Secretary
yeah.
of State.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, how do you describe yourself? Are you a lawyer or a lobbyist? When you go to a party, what do you tell people?
Well, when they're telling lawyer jokes, I'd say I'm a lobbyist. When they're telling lobbyist jokes, it's
You seem like a nice guy.
That's
That's
right. Looks are deceiving. What I like to do is I don't actively practice law anymore. I try to use the skill sets and knowledge that I learned through my valuable years at Tulane Law School and apply those into the business and governmental world that we work in. Our ultimate goal in what our firm does is not to be a gunslinger, but to be a partner and help a business grow and advance. And the way that we contribute to that is by removing the obstacles that government may put into their path or advancing initiatives through government, which helps create a more conducive environment for that business to prosper. So we don't view ourselves as hired assassins to go and kill a piece of legislation or just slam dunk something. We view ourselves as a partner to our business clients that we can help grow their business.
You're listening to Out to Lunch. I'm Peter Raschuti. My guests are Tyron Picard from the Picard Group and Barbara Van Gossen from Healthy Image. Barbara, I've taken a look at your client list, and it's very broad. There's a lot of different industries and such. When we think about how your business used to work, you needed to have like an artist on hand and all that. In this day and age, we can kind of steal anything off the internet. How has your business changed?
We still have the different pieces together in-house. We have 4 artists, together. We don't own our videographer, but he does live with us.
Okay,
basically. And when we have our writers, and so we all really are under one roof still. If there's something that we don't have or don't know or whatever, we will job it out and go find what that is. But really, we haven't changed that much in that aspect.
Now, how big is the firm?
We have 12 employees total.
And I've read somewhere it's secretly very female.
It's extremely female. We have 2 resident males.
Resident,
And,
like you have them caged somewhere. There's
And they
Are
are
they house
great,
trained?
and they are. They are. No, they're great. You know, they handle it very well, and but we have a really fun environment, and we try to make sure, you know, that it stays that way because you work better that
How
way.
do you get new clients, though? I would imagine a certain amount of it is word of mouth.
It is, and we've been very, very fortunate in that area that we don't do a whole lot of self-marketing. I mean, we just don't.
Maybe
and
you
we haven't
should.
I know.
There's
We're actually kind of, you know, we're building a building right now, so we're kind of doing that as maybe our launch pad where we're going to maybe,
so if I was to ask you where you're going to be 5 years from now, you physically would give me an answer.
I would be physically in a
Okay,
new yes.
Wow.
So, yeah, so we don't do a lot, but we just haven't had to. But we are very aware of the fact that that is something that we are going to need to do, you know, especially we have another couple of new agencies coming into town, and you know, you never want to get comfortable. So
And how does it work in that business? We talk on this show. We always talk about some industries are pretty cooperative with each other. Others are pretty cutthroat. How does your business work? Is it
between agencies
Yeah.
and stuff, pretty well. We all get along. We all, you know, belong to the chamber. We all ad fed, you know, so we all talk to one another, you know, but we all secretly you know, stoke one another and see what the other one's doing and know who each other's clients are and all that. So, but overall, we really do pretty well. There's an organization where we have some businesses that get together and talk about things like this, you know, and there are a couple of agencies a part
now?
of
What
that.
is your
so.
background, Barbie? You from the art side or the business side?
I'm
or-
on the art side.
Okay.
That's why I was hoping you weren't going to ask me. He's too smart. He's too smart for me. We all first started
I've
talking. I was
actually given him
like,
all the answers
oh
before
my
the show.
gosh,
It's,
I maybe shouldn't be here.
Not true.
No, I'm on the graphic side. Yeah, I went to McNeese and graduated McNeese in graphic design, and
So you're one of those people. Your degree looks like your career. A lot of people that don't.
They're
They're like a lion tamer and they're a finance
you
major or
know, and
something.
I just figured it out early, kind of what I wanted to do, and I've stuck with it, and I've been happy and successful with it. So it's, you know,
That's awesome.
Yeah,
we're-
absolutely.
We're happy.
Now, Barbara and Tyron, I've got to ask: this is the part of the show I like the best? It's called your brother-in-law, and so this is where we're gonna go. You're finally wrapping up a long day at work when the phone rings. It's your brother-in-law, and normally he only calls when he wants a dinner invitation, but this time things are a little different. Tyron, your brother-in-law has a brilliant idea. With the coming changes in the tax law and lowering of corporate tax rates, there's going to be a lot of companies with a lot of cash they're going to want to park somewhere. With the penalties that are being promised for taking money out of the country, how about starting up a bank in Louisiana that would be like a Swiss bank account? There would obviously have to be a way around the standard regulatory banking restrictions, but your brother-in-law says that that's where you come in. You can figure it out, and you and your brother-in-law can make a fortune. What do you say? You going to look into it?
Did you know my brother-in-law is a venture capitalist?
No, let's bring him in. That's what I like. That. Wow, that was very fortuitous.
Who handles global clients? Yeah, in Boston. I was like, where is this going? So,
Do you think we could be more of a safe haven for money if we thought about it?
you know, that's a fascinating proposition.
Nobody knows we're here anyway. It's out there.
I do believe that there's going to be a significant repatriation of money coming back across with the negotiated incentive to repatriate dollars.
I hear there's like $2 trillion out there or something.
I think it's way more than
Wow.
that. Way more than that. That's probably what Microsoft or Google has
In a drawer somewhere?
sitting
Yeah.
across, but it's there's going to be opportunity, and obviously that money is going to need to be deployed places. I mean, these companies, most of them publicly traded, are going to have to put that money to work somewhere. And so hopefully we in Louisiana can create an environment that is attractive both from an investment and a tax perspective to bring that money into.
What do you think they're going to do with the money, by the way? Do you think they're going to continue to hoard cash and buy their own stock back, or
And part of that,
invest it?
part of that, the president of Shell North America is a high school friend of mine. And I was
good
visiting
for
with
you.
him about. I was, well, I was visiting with him
like
about.
that.
They're not a
I have
client.
friends that own bowling alleys. This
He's
is
just
so
a
great.
friend, right. And another buddy who has a car wash. But you know, but he gave me a statistic that I just found fascinating. And right before the presidential election, he said that they had over $1 trillion worth of pipeline work, just refurbishments, upgrades, and extensions of pipelines pending at the FERC. That's not one additional barrel of oil. That's not one additional natural gas well. Those are just permits that would call for $1 trillion worth of spending if they just got approval. And so, you know, I think that communities are going to obviously have decisions to make when companies like those companies begin to pull repatriate dollars. We're going to face some of it in Louisiana with certain pipeline issues, I know, coming up. And those are decisions that communities are going to have to make about jobs and about whether or not, you know, that there are certain environmental safeguards that can be put into in order to safeguard. Some folks, you know, some folks are just against it no matter what.
Right.
And that's one position. But there'll be winners and losers for sure. There'll be winners and losers for sure. I think on the
whole-
repatriation of
yeah.
dollars back into America.
Barbara, your brother-in-law has a great idea for you. Seeing you already produce a magazine, Thrive, which I've seen everywhere, how much more of a step would it be to take that same material and produce a TV show? All you basically have to do is talk about every article in the magazine. That way you can have two products for really use of the same content and charge your advertisers twice, plus get new ones. Your brother-in-law's even got a name for the TV show, Thrive Live. He's prepared to quit his job at the rice mill and be the producer of Thrive Live. What do you say? Are you up for it?
He needs to go because that's already happened.
Really? Is there a Thrive?
There was Thrive TV.
Oh, no way.
There was. We did it several years back, and it was a blast.
I don't think he was married to your sister at that point. We're making up people here. This is great. So it was a blast, but you decide not
He's
to
behind
stick
the
with
times. No, we actually did that. We had Thrive TV, and we produced it for, I guess it was probably a year and a half. And the only reason why we quit was because it was so labor intensive, and we were just so small.
Were you like the host?
No, we had a local host,
Wow.
and then we had.
Was it web-based or was
No,
it?
it was on TV. We
like an
would
open
take
channel?
out kind of like it was a
Open access channel?
Well, it was like KPLC
Yeah,
had it,
sure.
and it was like a 30-minute, open. We bought the airtime
Right.
and then and produced, and it was just so much fun. We just had a blast with it. But yeah, so we really did, and we would love to actually be able to do it again.
Was it
but
called Thrive Live?
It was Thrive TV. That's what we
Oh,
called
yeah,
it.
that's what the only problem was.
Oh, we
the
had
name.
this. I know.
There was a.
I know. That's
Now,
when you said that, I just went, "Oh my gosh!"
I have to ask you though, Barbara, on a show like that, you said you've got a lot of labor. It's very labor intensive
Mm-hmm.
and such. How would you decide whether or not, business-wise, it was working though? I mean, was something you hope to get out of it?
Well, I think with Thrive's a different animal compared to our ad agency. It's kind of what we call a labor of love. It's almost like a venue for our clients also to be able to run articles and for us to be able to help them get things out through articles and other means. And then
I
the
always
TV.
read this stuff, by the way. I
Yeah.
grab whatever I'm walking into
Oh, well,
someplace. Yeah.
thanks.
Yes.
And Thrive TV was going to be that way, that we could do it, but bring it all out visually. So we would have people that would sponsor the show, people that would sponsor segments of the show, and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, we wanted to it would have been nice to have made a bunch of money on it. We just, like you were talking about earlier, we do the work as well
Right.
as run the business. So it was very hard, like that.
Well,
So
I
had
think
to
we should
kinda-
bring it back and have you and I co-host it.
Yeah, that would be
Okay,
awesome.
that'll be good. Yeah. That's what I do is I get myself gigs this way. It's really working out.
I may buy ad time with that.
This is great. And before he thought it was just on community
I
access. He's
know,
sold now.
see?
This is so great. We frequently hear successful business owners explain that the smartest thing they've done in business is find smarter people to listen to. They don't often, however, tell you exactly who those smarter people are. It's been great to meet two of those smarter people today. Tyron, Barbara, it has been a great insight into the world of business consultants and marketing. And thank you both for taking the time to join me on Out to Lunch.
Thanks
Sure,
for having us.
absolutely.
My guests today on Out to Lunch have been Barbara Van Gossen. She's the creative director of Healthy Image, and Tyron Picard, the principal of the Picard Group. You can find out more about Barbara's and Tyron's business advice and consultancy by following the links on our websites, krvs.org and itsacadiana.com. Today's show is recorded live over lunch at Cafe Vermilionville in Lafayette. Cafe V is open Monday through Friday, 6 nights a week for dinner at the courtyard that sets the scene for fine Louisiana cuisine. The producer of our show is Grant Morris. Our technical producer is Eric Merle. Our researcher is Ann Christian. Our theme song, Encore Monsieur Nice Guy, is written by Mitch Foreman and performed by Mitch Foreman and Andre Michaud. Our Acadiana business consultants are Pete Prados from Innovate Acadiana, Zach Barker from The Opportunity Machine, and Dr. Blake Escaday. If you want to know what we look like, and I know you're curious, you can find photos from this show on our website and Facebook page. The photos were taken today by Gwen Oquan. You can get the show as a podcast. You can listen to past shows. You can keep up with us on all kinds of social media by going to our websites. It's acadiana.com and krvs.org. Support for Out to Lunch Acadiana comes from Wyndham Garden Lafayette. Located off Pinhook near Calais Saloon, Wyndham Garden Lafayette is pet and family friendly with free parking, free Wi-Fi, and free shuttle within a 3-mile radius, including the airport and downtown restaurants. Additional support comes from ABiz Magazine and AcadianaBusiness.com, the essential information source for business decision makers throughout the One Acadiana region. Out to Lunch is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsacadiana.com and KRVS 88.7 FM. I'm Peter Raschuti. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to meeting you again next week around the table here at Cafe Vermilionville for more business, Acadiana style, on Out to Lunch.
Major support for Out to Lunch Acadiana is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker. Established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys in offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Business First Bank, with locations throughout the state, including Lafayette and Lake Charles, providing personal and commercial banking, treasury management, and wealth solution services to help clients succeed. Business First Bank, banking with greater momentum at b1bank.com. Support also comes from Wyndham Garden Lafayette.